Hello, hello, hello. I have spent the last 2 days translating the first module of a program I'm doing with VetJoy and VetLed about mentoring, and I'm translating into Spanish. So I'm sitting here now trying to like unfurl my tongue again and try to get back to just speaking English. So if I suddenly throw in a Spanish word, you have to forgive me. I mean, it may be good to learn some Spanish after the half time in Super Bowl this weekend. If you've seen this in the future, then we might know what I mean. Anyway, so there's something I wanted to talk about that I realized that I don't want to be a victim of, or I don't want to fall into this habit. Which is, you know how we always say like, I don't want this. No, I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen again. I don't like this in my life. And we kind of like focused on what we don't want and what we don't want to do. And it can create a lot of negativity because then also like if you believe a bit in manifesting stuff, like you're like constantly focusing on negative things, and we tend to focus on it where we put our energy on, right? And then that's what we kind of attract. No, so I want to try and not make all my episodes on like this is how you avoid this and this is how you get over this and being negative stuff. So today I want to talk to you about getting motivated, about really bringing our motivation back. Because what happens when we are stressed, burned out, anxious, overworked, overwhelmed, and all these things is that we lose our motivation. So instead of talking today about how to avoid all these things, I'm going to try and tell you how to achieve some things or looking towards what we do want, right? So the first step when we want to get our motivation back, it's actually realizing that we're not motivated. So sorry if I'm talking a bit negative again, but basically you notice you get up in the morning, right? And you just think about work and you're like, oh God, I have to go to work and I don't want to. And you try and find excuses. And you know, when you go into this, like, if I could just have a teeny little accident or some sort of like flu, I had to stay at home. I don't have to go to work. No, that would be nice. When you're at that space, then you're definitely not motivated. So stopping and stopping for a while, not just stop yourself, realize it, be honest with yourself. You know what? I am not motivated anymore. I do not feel the motivation to get up. I don't feel the motivation to get up for work for sure. I don't want to go. So that is the first step. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to tell yourself, maybe say it out loud, I am not motivated. This job does not motivate me anymore. And then you have to make a decision. You have to believe that it's possible that you can become motivated again. Because not all the coaching in the world, reading all the books in the world, listening to all the podcasts in the world, whatever you want to do, is not going to help if you truly believe that vet med is not for you and you can never be motivated or feel a motivation towards being a vet again. You have to believe this. So let's look at for a moment what motivation is. Motivation is a feeling, right? I feel motivated. I feel unmotivated. I don't feel motivated to do this. So we can agree that motivation is a feeling. And where do feelings come from? Feelings come from our thoughts, right? You may think that your job is unmotivating, or your job is not motivating you, or doing consults is not making you feel motivated. But all these things actually cannot motivate or unmotivate you. All they can do is giving you some facts. So I have 50 consults a day. Whenever I do a bit spay, it bleeds a lot, whatever it is, the thing is that makes you feel motivated or not motivated. And then you have thoughts about it. So the thoughts could be, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. There's too many consults. I'm getting overwhelmed. Whatever the thoughts are creating your motivation or your unmotivation. And in theory, we should be able to say, okay, so maybe up to now I'm thinking it's too much work. I don't want to do it. I don't like my colleagues. I don't like my boss. And all this is making me feel unmotivated. So in order to feel motivated, all I have to think is my job is amazing. I love my boss. I love seeing people all day. I love doing surgery. And then we should feel motivated. Of course, we all know it's not so easy. You can't just change your thoughts in that way because we're not robots, right? And that also, like, if you don't want to gaslight yourself either, if you're working in the right crap hole, then you don't want to just like change your thoughts and lie to yourself. You don't want to gaslight yourself. You definitely don't want to be gaslight by me telling you that you should just change your thoughts and think positive things. That is not the case. But you do want to look at what thoughts you're having that are actually making you not feel motivated. Because if you keep thinking them, then they might stick, right? I've talked about patterns in the past. Like we tend to think the same things over and over and over and over on repeat. And it's very difficult. Even if you move to a new place, you might feel motivated for a little while, but then you tend to like go back to the old patterns just because the thoughts are just in that they are in those old grooves, unless the situation changes dramatically, and then it's easier to have other thoughts about it. So realize you're not motivated, be honest with yourself, and then look at the thoughts that are making you feeling not motivated. And just look at which one are facts and which ones are just think that you're repeating over and over. And be honest with yourself that motivation is a feeling, and this feeling comes from things you're thinking. And what are you thinking about your job? And are these facts? Are they not facts? Are they helpful? Are they not helpful? Do you want to keep them? Do you not want to keep them? And then believe that it's possible to change. Know that you can actually get to feel motivated and in this profession again. The next step you want to look at is what do you actually really want? Because we looked at, I said about when you do think about all the things you don't want, you tend to focus on them. You tend to put your energy there. And it's just really difficult to say. It's like say, oh, I don't want to be overweight. Oh, I don't want to have this belly. I don't want to blah, blah, blah. Then it's just really difficult then if there's a big piece of cake in front of me to not eat the cake. It's easier if I'm thinking, I want these abs, I want to look like this. And when I'm super skinny, then I'm gonna look so good in this dress, on this bikini, or whatever it is. I've kind of given up on the whole belly journey now, but I still get like lapses of it, and then I'm like, and I will only eat kale and broccoli, so it's easier to feel motivated if you're thinking about where you're going towards. So you want to think about what do you really want? What will make me feel motivated again? What situation would it be? Would it be not having to get up so early, or would it be working less hours, or would it be getting out earlier? Would it be not having to do so much admin work, or do less admin work, do more clinical work? What is it that you actually really want? And really try, see, I already did now again, it's like not do admin work. So maybe I want to do less admin work. I want to do more clinical work. I want to be more outside. I want to maybe, instead of seeing so many clients, I want to do more surgery, or I want to do less surgeries because I want to speak more to people. Or what is it you really want? You need to get yourself into a space where you can think about something in a way that then makes you feel motivated. So you like imagine the situation. So imagine, I don't know what your situation is right now, but let's imagine you're working maybe five days a week, and you're working from 9 to 5, and every day just seems the same. It's like Groundhog Day, and you never have time to shop, blah, blah, blah. So imagine like, okay, I want to work 3 days a week, but I want to work maybe longer hours because I don't want to go down in salary, or maybe I can go down in salary because actually I'm married to this rich guy, or I got savings, so right now I can do it, or whatever it is, or you can have another job. I want to go down in hours, and then you imagine it. No, imagine what you would like. I would like to work less hours. This is how the day would look like if I was feeling motivated, then this would be my ideal scenario. So like really go to your ideal scenario, what you would imagine it would be like, and see if you can create a feeling of motivation from this. Because remember, the brain actually doesn't know whether you're actually living this thing or whether you're imagining it. Did you know, like, I can't remember if I told you about this, but there was this experiment with people playing the piano, that if they have people actually sit and practice the piano for whatever long time, or they just sat thinking about it, they actually all evolve the same. So the brain doesn't know the difference whether you're actually physically in the situation or whether you imagine in the situation. So the feeling you can recreate would be the same. It's a bit like, when you have strong feelings about a person, they don't even have to be in front of you for you to feel it. Like the first time you were in love when you were a teenager, you didn't have to this person didn't have to be near you, right? I mean, if you were in love with George Michael, then like you would just think of him and you would have the feeling, right? So you can actually imagine the situation you want to be in that would make you feel motivated. So you're going to have to, if you want to stay in veterinary medicine and you want to find your motivation again, you got to believe that you can be motivated, and you gotta have to do some thought experiments and think, what would make me feel motivated? How would I be happy? What would make me feel joyful? What would make me feel motivated getting up in the morning and going to work? And then once you have the overall picture, and it might not be super realistic, and here's the thing, if your brain is already set in some sort of negativity bias, and everything is just like kind of in fight and flight mode. I don't know, I feel really overwhelmed. It can be difficult to imagine that ideal scenario, It's a bit like if you were like trying manifesting and you like literally have debts up to here and you don't know, how you're going to pay the next bill. And then somebody's like, oh, you just have to imagine you like living in a mansion and driving a Porsche. I mean, that's a thought experiment that can be a bit difficult to get to, right? But, so you can do different things to try this. You can like journal out, you can sit and meditate, you can maybe, I don't know, look at a film where some veterinarian, the Christmas movie where the vet is super happy, like just trying to get you into that space where you can feel the motivation and you have like some sort of idea of what you want. And then you want to take the overwhelm out of the situation. You want to take the vagueness and maybe one day out of this. So you want to make a plan. You want to make a plan towards how can I get to this ideal day, week I really want to have that would make me feel motivated. And this is both like the hours you work, the money you earn, what you actually do at work. Is it more clinical, surgical, admin? Do you want to do something completely different, or do you want to be somewhere else? Or is it the commute you would want to be different? For example, I fly to work. So like really look at all the different aspects of it, of what you would like it to be. And then you make a plan and you start with a small step. So, for example, if you're not feeling motivated because you're not getting paid enough, ask for a raise. Like book in at least a meeting to ask for a raise and start planning for how would you organize this. Or if the you don't think you're going to be able to be paid more where you are and money is the issue. Okay, so maybe look at other jobs. Imagine like what could I potentially do for a promotion, or how could I maybe work to another clinic, how maybe work nights because that pays better. If it's the money that's an issue, then you want to take steps towards that. Is it because you're working too many hours and you really would like to take a step back and work less hours? How can you manage that? How would that look like? And can you maybe combine it with some non-clinical work or do some remote work? Like how could you do this? And you don't need to know all the steps in one go. You don't need to have like the whole picture until like, I don't need to know the whole path onto this ideal situation. You just want to have like one little step, the next step. Just like write down the next 2 or 3 steps you want to take and really feel into it. How does that feel? How does it feel like going to ask for promotion? How does it feel going to ask to have my hours reduced? How would it feel to go in and say, look, I'm not happy with this software because I just can't, like my notes are just not, it takes so long to write them. Is there something else we could do? Like, what are the small steps you could take and how does it feel when you think about taking them? Because as we all know, we all hate change. Like our brains they do not like change. They would rather have keep you in this little bubble of discontentment and on dismotivation, then it will allow you, your brain will not allow you to take steps to make changes because it feels like unsafe and weird and not what we always do. So in order to take these little steps, you're going to have to feel in with when you think about them, what comes up, like what are you feeling? And your brain will be like, yeah, but they're not going to allow it. Oh yeah, they're not going to want it, blah blah. It doesn't matter, just take the next step and feel into it and accept you're going to feel uncomfortable. Also be really realistic about what can you actually control. So you cannot control your co-workers. If your problem is you don't like your co-workers, you don't like the clients, or you don't like your boss, you cannot change them. So in order to get your motivation back, if you want to stay in this place, then you're going to have to be willing to look at things differently, and you're going to have to be willing to shift your perspective a bit. Like I don't like my colleagues. I don't like, for example, that they gossip all the time. Okay, so how can I stay out of the gossip? What can be some limits I can put up, some boundaries so I don't engage in this gossip? If I feel my boss is being disrespectful, what are some boundaries I can set up? Like just like really simple little things. Because remember, you don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to make a little change, and that will even motivate you more because you're like, oh, this is change actually. So yeah, I can see this. This is working, right? Um, so like what can you control? What can you not control? Or you might be that you want to look for another job because right now you want to stay in vet med, you want to find your motivation, but you're looking around at the people around you, you're like, there's just no way I can get my brain around being okay with working with these people, right? So maybe you need just to change to a new place, and that is absolutely fine as well. Take the steps towards that, but be really conscious about where your motivation is coming from and what you are thinking that makes you think that a new place would be much better and those people would all be amazing. Because sometimes the problem is ourselves as well. Know if we're on this negativity bias, and we just need to be aware of that. And also, when you make the plan and you have this like goal for where you want to go, make sure you you try and measure it just a little bit, right? Because I had a client, for example, that was like 10 out of 10 anxious going into the clinic, and she had like zero motivation because she was so full of anxiety. And it wouldn't have been realistic to say, I want to feel like 0 out of 10 going to work. She was like, I would be okay if I could just feel like right now, just 6 out of 10 as opposed to a 10 out of 10, which comes back to also being important that you are able to feel into your body and feel your emotions and say, okay, where am I at? Just like, when you go to a hospital with some sort of pain and they're like, where are you at a scale up to 10? So you kind of know where you are at pain wise, but you can also measure that in motivation. You can measure that in anxiety. You can measure that in tiredness, exhaustion. What is it kind of like? Where are you now? So if you are 1 out of 10 or 0 out of 10 motivated, it's probably not realistic to think I want to be 10 out of 10 tomorrow. Like, okay, so what could get me to 2 out of 10 in 2 weeks? I mean, that would be amazing, right? If you are like a 0 out of 10, if you can prove to yourself that with your inner work, with your own plan, with your mind and your who you are, with the resources you have around you, you can get to a 2 out of 10 in a couple of weeks or even a month. Like, where could you be in a year? Where could you be in 2 years, right? You might be, if you work at it. And when I say work, it's like working with a coach and working with a therapist. It's not hard work, but it's like it's being willing to see things differently. And when you are changing your life in any way, whether it's like a physical level, a psychological level, there's some work in the sense that you just have to keep coming back to that willingness to change, to that willingness to see things differently, to that willingness to shift your perspective just a little bit, to that willingness to try things out that may or may not work, and be willing also to fail. Or maybe you think like, I'm a small animal vet. I'm just going to try farm animal because I think that would make me feel really motivated. You do the thought experiment and it's just like, oh, it would be so amazing to be surrounded by cows and green fields. And then you go and try it out and it's like a crap hole. You hate it. That's fine. You tried it out, right? Like really um, be willing to do that work, which is trying out new things, do thought experiments, process your feeling how this feels, do little steps, do a little plan. It is hard in the sense that it's tiring, right? And your brain is gonna fight you on it, like stay where you are. I know you're not motivated, but at least we know, like better the devil you know. But if you want to change your life, you've got to be willing to be honest with yourself, be willing to look into what's going on, have that consciousness of and make decisions coming from a really grounded place where you know where you're coming from, you know where you're going, and also be willing to say, okay, I'm going to take this little step and let's see where it brings me. Maybe it gets me from 0 out of 10 motivated, or maybe let's say you're at a 3 out of 10 motivation right now, and you don't want to stay like that because it's just not a lot of fun, is it? And you want eventually to get to a 10 out of 10, or at least an 8 out of 10. If you get like to a 4 out of 10, what would you need to do that? And that could be a simple switch. That might not even be that much. You might not have to do much. It might just be, I just really, really hate the late shifts because then in the mornings I'm going around and I don't know what to do with myself. I don't get anything done. And then I like the days just blow into one another. Okay, can I ask to have more earlier shift? That alone could shift your motivation hugely, but you just need to be willing to go through that discomfort, realize what you need, be honest with yourself what you need, really say to yourself, what do I want? And then make a plan and then fight for it. Take the meeting, have the communication, take the pay cut or not take the pay cut, whatever it is you need to get towards what you want, right? So I hope it makes sense that in this episode, what I want you to see is like really we can't keep running away from what we don't want. We really need to have clear goals or at least some sort of idea of what we want. And we want to be able to put ourselves mentally in that situation and see how we feel about it and create a sense of motivation because then you can also believe it. And once you can believe it, then you will work towards it. But if you can't believe it, if you can't get there, then it's really hard to take the steps because why would you? Why would you go through the mental complication of making change if you don't think it's going to change anything, you're going to feel the same, right? So the first step is to realize you're not motivated, be honest with yourself, and then believe it's possible. Put yourself into that mental space, get yourself to feel motivated, and really look at what you really want, and then start taking small steps. And like I said, you don't need to know the whole path of getting there, just the next step. A bit like in the movie In the Secret, they talk a lot about like if you're driving from like Chicago to New York at the middle of the night, your headlights are not going to illuminate all the way. They're going to illuminate like a few meters ahead of you. And that's all you need to start moving, to get yourself out of the situation, to just take the first step and say, okay, I am moving now. I'm going towards what I want. right? You don't need to know all the steps. You just need to have a general idea of what you want. And then once you start taking the steps, you might realize, actually, I want more this than that. I thought I wanted to do more surgeries, but now I can see that's actually not what I wanted. I thought that's what I wanted, but that's not actually not it. Okay, what is it? But then at least you're moving, and then you can kind of like take side tracks and open other doors or whatever it is you do to move towards your what you really want. But you can't just sit on your chair and always imagine how things would be if only, and then put mental obstacles up and barriers that were like, oh no, I can't do that because, and then you don't even try it, right? You got to be a bit brave and courageous and try things. And for that, you want to imagine the situation, you want to find the motivation, and that will give you that little umph to make that first step. I hope that has made sense. Let me know. Let me know. Write a review, send me a message. What did you think? What are you not feeling motivated about? I mean, if you want any help with this, remember, I'm always available by email or on social media. You can send me a message, and I'm more than happy to do a free session with you to get you started, that oomph, that first step. And then we can see if you need any more help from there. All right, take care. Bye.